Okie dokie, today I'm going to show you guys how to replace breakers in your breaker box. I have one outside and one inside. Only one breaker outside though and the rest are inside. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that today. For me, I have a duplex, so there's 2 meters, one here and one side here, okay? This is the one I'm working on, so make sure you know which box to work on. And there's going to be a main panel switch, in my case outside. In some cases you'll have this main panel breaker switch inside, but either way, you're gonna find your main panel switch, which for me is this one right here, 70 amp. And then there's one little oddball little guy out here, a 20 amp, which goes to my kitchen, okay? And I have turned it off, and I've turned this off too, which I don't really need to turn that one off out here. Mainly just this one will kill all of them. But for safety, I'm just shutting this all off right here. And inside, I'll take you inside there in a minute. I'm gonna be replacing this 70 amp to 100 amp. I'm gonna have an electrician do that pretty soon for you guys that are following along. I'm gonna upgrade the panel box from a 70 amp to 100 amp. And in the meantime, I'm just gonna be replacing all the old breakers from 1977. I'm gonna be replacing them to a 2024 model of the same breakers with the same, you have to get the same clips. In my case, this is the clip, okay? That's gonna go inside the panel, but some panels have different clips and different years, or you know, all that. There's gonna be, you have to get the right one. So the best way to do that is to take one of your old breakers with you. Once you turn off the power, take an old breaker with you to the store and match it, or have somebody there that can help you match it, okay? And that's all you need to do. Just get the right breakers, shut this off outside, okay? And now I'm gonna go inside. The power is turned off, and I am going to first go inside my property and find out where the panel box breaker is. And you're going to remove the screws that are holding this little metal kit on. Remove those screws, which for me, they're right there, okay? And I'm going to remove this whole piece, just take it off like that, okay? Set that down somewhere. And then we're going to look inside here, and you're going to see right away there's a bunch of these little breakers like right here, and the little one right here, just like the 20, those are 20 amp, okay? And just like the one outside, there was a 70 and a 20, if you remember that. Well, the only one that's different is this one right here. This is a double deal, 20 amp with a little yellow button, and I could not find that at the store, so I'm gonna have to be waiting, try to figure out where I can find one of these. But in the meantime, I did get all of the other breakers. And by the way, any of these breakers, they're all hooked up the exact same. The same way we're gonna hook up these ones that I'm gonna show you is gonna be the exact same way that this one's hooked up. There's just 2 slots instead of 1. Like these are 1 each, 1, 1, 1. There's 2 here. And the only difference is this is a 30 amp and this is a 20 amp double. See, there's a double breaker, just see like that. And this is a double. 30, but there's also these smaller ones that are 30, and so on and so forth. None of this really matters because they're all hooked up the exact same way. Now here's the 30, and you can see there's a black going to the top and a red going to the bottom. That's because this is a 4-wire, not a 3-wire. There's a red wire added in. It's not just black, white, and ground. There's a red, black, white, and ground. So that's why there's 2 hot wires, one going to the top, one going to the bottom, okay? And then on this one, I've removed these, and by the way, this one and this one are these are abandoned. So I'm just explaining to you that these bigger ones are hooked up the exact same way as the smaller ones. So just keep all of that in mind. They're all perfectly the same. The only difference is the double screw instead of a single screw, okay? But I'm gonna leave this one right here. I've capped these 2, okay? They're capped just in case in the future I want to do something with that slot. I can, but for now I've removed it because it's not necessary. It's been abandoned, okay? And this one has been abandoned as well, and I leave it off all the time, but it's still hooked up. This one was missing a screw, so I just abandoned it, and it doesn't work for nothing. Now these you just pop out like this, okay? That's all you do. They pop right out. You're gonna grab it and they pop right out, just like this, okay? Which I'm only gonna do a couple at a time here. But I'm gonna do this one, and let's pull it out, and I'm gonna show you what we gotta do, okay? You can see right away, all there is 1 wire. There's just 1 wire connected into this breaker. Now, if you follow it up and around, there's probably another 2 wires, a white and a ground. there's a ground bar right over here inside a panel box. You can see all the white wires and all the ground wires are all connected in to this ground bar over here. Okay, those are grounds, and neutrals are basically all grounds. Okay, and in some houses there's just a 2-wire system, so you'll just have a black, like this one right here is a black, and then it'll be a white. Well, the white will go inside the ground bar, and if you have a ground, the ground and the white go in the ground bar. Hopefully I'm making sense. But anyway, as far as the breaker themselves, now that we've went over the ground bar and the whites and the grounds, you'll see, like I said, right away, there's just one single wire going to each breaker. Okay, there's one single wire going to this breaker also. Just one wire. Now, what do? How do we take that wire out? Very simple. Get you a flathead screwdriver and loosen that screw right there. When you loosen that screw, it'll loosen the screw out from that little metal piece right there, and just loosen it 1 or 2 clicks. That wire will slip right out of there. I could almost do it with one hand, but I'm not going to do it with one hand. I'm going to lefty loosey, and remember, righty tighty. So I'm going to lefty loosey and pull that wire out, and this will be free to take this one out and put in a new one. So you can see I have removed this breaker completely by loosening that screw just a couple of turns, and this wire slipped right out. Okay, the only wire connected to the breaker. Now I'm going to set that one that's trash out of the way. These are all my good ones over here. Here's one right here in my hand, and you can see there's a little clip, and remember, there's going to be different clipping mechanisms. They're going to go in here a little bit differently depending on what panel box that you actually have. So that's why you need to take a breaker with you to the store, so you don't make that mistake and that you get the right breaker, or have somebody help you get the right breaker. Okay, now that we've went over that, all you're going to do is, there's a clip right there and a little plug-in type thing right here. It just clips on that little metal rod. And what metal rod am I talking about? This little metal thing right here, this little deal, that clip, it goes right on there and it snaps into place. Okay, it's snapped in right there. Now this is going to go inside there. Where, you might ask? Okay, so now let's look at that. It's going to go right there, see? And when you tighten this screw, righty tighty, lefty loosey, we're going to righty tighty it, and it's going to close this down. See, this is much safer than the older ones. It's going to close that top portion down on that bottom portion. You're going to tighten it down where it's real tight and snug, okay? But you're not going to crank it so tight that it rips the wire in half, okay? So we're going to slide that black wire inside there, just like that. That's all we're doing. Slide it all the way in, and make sure that your wire's stripped back. You know, let's see, about that far, about a thumbnail. So put that in there, and then tighten the screw down. So you can see this bright and shiny new breaker right here. It also says trip right here. These are the old ones. This is the new one, and this is the new one. You can see this one's just one screw as well. Righty tighty, lefty loosey, righty tighty, lefty loosey. Guys, you can definitely do this. This is very easy. You don't need to pay anybody to do this, all right? I'm gonna save you guys from the trauma of the 3 minutes of hand screwing these things. These are all new now, you can see, okay? They're all turned on. This one's turned on. Now, if it's off, it'll say off, and if it's tripped, it'll be somewhere right in the middle. If it's tripping, it'll be in the middle. So off, on, trips in the middle. These are all new. You can see those new screws, this new screw. These two are abandoned. This one's completely missing the screw, so I took these out and capped them. Okay, they're capped and they're not in use. Now, and this one right here, I have to find this. But now we're gonna go outside, and I'm gonna replace the last 20 amp one on the outside panel breaker. By the way, I'll link these tools in the description below, but you're just gonna wanna give it a quick check to make sure that nothing's hot right here, okay? Nothing's hot, the metal's not hot. I did the same thing inside, I just forgot to show you guys. But now we're gonna loosen this screw, lefty loosey, and I'm gonna take this metal kit out so I can see the wires to replace this one. I have taken off this metal kit right here with a Klein screwdriver, which I'll link in the description below. It's interchangeable. It's a great screwdriver, and it has this rubber on it for when you're working with electric, so you don't get shocked if the metal by some chance, or the screw by some chance, is hot. It could kill you. So it's good to have you a rubber insulated handle on there. But anyway, I want to show you guys this. The inside panel, okay, comes from here. The main wire comes in at the house from the city, okay, from the city power pole. It comes over and it comes to here and it comes down, one for this unit, one for that unit. And you can see when it comes down, even though the power's turned off, we've got heat. And if you'll notice how big those wires in there, just one little touch on that screw or on that wire up top, it will instantly kill you and turn your body into a fried potato or whatever. A fried whatever you want to call it, fried. Something's getting fried and it's going to be you. So don't touch that screw and don't touch that screw, and make sure you know what you're checking everything. See, like down here, it's not hot, okay? But I'm not going to trust any of this stuff. All I'm doing is working. This is the electrician's going to do this. I'm going to have him upgrade this 70 amp to that 100 amp. I'm not going to be doing that. He'll do that, but I'm just replacing this because it goes to my kitchen. It's part of the breakers that I need to change out before he comes out here. Okay, so you can see I have a black wire going right here, just like inside. The only difference is this one's up and down instead of sideways, but it's going to be the same exact thing, but a different vertical, horizontal difference. Okay, lefty loosey on that screw, lefty loosey. I'm going to pull that black wire out, pop this thing out without touching anything, and we're going to place the new one back in there. Okay, and righty-tighty on that screw with this little black wire, just like we did inside. The same thing outside, okay, right there. Righty-tighty, clamps over that, righty-tighty. And now we're gonna hook it on this little deal instead of the sideways one inside, okay? No difference. Same exact thing. Put it right back in there and snap it in place. Just do not touch anything. And that one is in place. And now I'm gonna put this metal kit over that, and it holds everything tight and pressed down and all that. So, whenever it's like this, it's a little bit wiggly when it's not inside that case. Don't worry about that. Just make sure that screw is righty-tighty and it's real tight, and that it's actually clipped in place and that you don't touch anything, okay? And then slip your metal back on without, be careful doing that as well. And put your screw back in. Okay, I have that screw back on, and this is all back in place, okay? Everything looks good. Just be very careful. I was using this here and this here to finagle that piece back into place. That way my actual hands don't have to touch that metal. Just in case that metal touches those top wires, it will kill you guys. So when you have to put this in, very careful. This metal cannot touch those wires, and your hand can't touch those wires. And this metal, anything the metal's touching, this could kill you. So I'm just, press it in like this around with the screwdriver and this, which the insulated screwdriver, of course. Okay, and then tighten down that screw. And I'm gonna flip this panel breaker back on, but I'm gonna go inside and double check and make sure everything looks good before I click this on. One last thing I want to mention is if your main panel breaker switch is inside, then these two wires, they will be hot inside. Even if the main panel breaker switch is off and all of these are off, those two big wires would still be hot. But in my case, those two big wires are shut off from the main panel breaker switch outside, which those wires go from outside and feed over to here. So since I'm turning them off over there, they're not feeding in right here, so they're not hot. I can touch anything inside this box. There's nothing in this box that's hot. But outside, that's not the case. When you turn it off out there, it's still hot on the up here. So just keep in mind wherever your main panel breaker switch is, and make sure everything's off, and make sure you double check everything before reaching your hands in there and touching everything. I just want you guys to be safe and know that, you want to check this stuff with a checker. You don't want to just turn off the main panel breaker switch and go to doing stuff. You want to turn the main panel breaker switch off, check everything, make sure it's safe first, and then start popping these out, lefty-loosing those one at a time, or take you one to the store and get it perfect match to it, okay, a newer aged match. Now that I've double checked all this stuff, everything looks great, everything's tightened down. These two are not in use, remember, and these two are wire nutted. Now I'm gonna throw some tape around those wire nuts and just leave these tucked in the back of the box because they are not, they're worthless. and this one is worthless. So I'm just gonna leave it hooked up and turned off. The reason I'm not leaving this one hooked up and turned off is because that screw is missing. There's no need for me to replace it. I'm just gonna do this for now. In the future, I could hook it up to something and put a new deal in here and, you know, make some use out of it in the future, but that's not gonna be today. But they would be hooked up the exact same way as these. It doesn't matter what size it is, they're all the same, okay? Hopefully this makes sense. And now that all that's good, I'm gonna put the case back on here and turn on the power. Okay, so here it is. All new here, and new outside. We'll upgrade the 70 to 100, and I'll replace this one whenever I can find one. And these two are abandoned, but hooked up the same way. So there's your recap of the day. Everything's turned on. We went through and checked everything. Everything works. Everything's functioning just as it should. And we no longer have weak old breakers in here. They are all new, except for this one, and the 100 and the 70 to 100. But anyway, hopefully you guys understand. Even the 70 and the 60 and the 40 and all these amps are hooked up the exact same way. You're just going to have larger wires and such, or double or single or whatever. So if you've already got all your breakers in there, just go take this out, go get the exact same one and put the new one in instead of the old one. That's all you're going to be doing. Same way we just did here. If this video was helpful in any way, go ahead and like it, subscribe to the channel if you like home improvement videos, and I will see you next time.